Well, that was fun. New York City, here we come. The requisite post-tournament in the car wrap-up. We learned a lot in Canton, Gridiron Games number 3. I learned a lot. You saw tons of coverage. Cannot thank James Cass, Dave Gardner, and S.T. Patrick enough for doing all the content work and allowing me to kind of immerse myself in the games. I was not going to be denied, I will be honest here. I was going to sit with all the game companies, thanking Al Wilson for that tutorial, thanking of Dan Sineski for unpacking your pay dirt while you were packing up and finishing up the 89 Broncos and Saints, and a great Elway-esque finale, the long drive to set up Rich Carlos for that 3-point victory. Broncos 17, Saints 14. Actually, I lost 2 games on field goal play because Al Wilson's 77 Broncos beat my 77 Steel Curtain at Three Rivers, 27-26. Jarella missed a kick, but the Steelers actually had some extra field goal attempts. Hit a couple lucky numbers there, so Jarella kept it close, just couldn't seal the deal. In any case, memorable games all around. Most memorable game, Apple football. Sunday morning game, Keith Avalone and I sat down, 8 a.m. sharp. And I'll speak about staying flexible with your scheduling in a bit here. Now, Keith has been playing Apple football for more than 50 years. He's got the original 1969 set, so 1970 issue, or 71 edition, really, right? So 69 was the first year with the XF, or extra football players, the 4 perforated players per team, rather 4 players per team on perforated sheets. That's more correct to say it. It's 6:15 in the morning, and we're on Route 80 here, so we're mostly caffeinated. Epic battle. Keith took the 69 XFs and built a team. He knows these people well. He knows the results on the charts by memory. He knows the results on the players' cards sometimes by memory. As a Saints fan, we played the 69 Steelers and Saints at Play.com 2023. So his 69 XFs faced the 76 New York Giants. I want to talk about 76. Fred Biletnikoff, special appearance. So he played those Zonka Giants. See, it all ties in. Post-World Football League. Keith ran the World Football League tournament on day 1, Saturday, August 24th. In any case, Keith and I kicked off, and shockingly, Craig Morton engineered a very long, smoothly executed drive. Put the Giants up early. Momentum eventually swayed as the 69 All-Stars started knocking Morton all around the field. 7 total sacks. It looked like Super Bowl 12 for poor Craig Morton. It was kind of an omen, a harbinger of what would come. So the momentum turned there. Just making sure I'm staying in the right lane here. It's an easy drive, but a couple little forks can confuse you. I must say that Canton is very easily accessible by car or by plane. Folks flew into Cleveland. Keith flew into Cleveland, for instance, but it's a fairly decent drive for folks and fairly easy to execute. In any case, back to Apple football. So Keith turned, I think, a 7-0 deficit to a 17-13 halftime lead. Then things got really weird. Apple football, that magic, that intensity. It's one of the most intense games I ever played. And in fact, it's uncanny how whenever you play Apple football, oftentimes it's your most recent game. It's the greatest, most intense game you've ever played. Oh no, wait, this is the most memorable game I've ever played. And then the next one, and the next one. They get more memorable as you go along. So, should I try the light here? The cabin light? Oh, that's worse. Yeah, who needs that? So, just at, the Giants get a little out of their game plan. Keith Avalone running Smiley inside. We ignore that don't run a guy back-to-back rule. And the amazing thing about Apple football, because you're keying on the players as well, is that back and forth. I shouldn't have to. When you're doing a content creator video, you have to have your hands at 10 and 2 instead of right here. When you're in those very tense moments in Apple football, you're temporarily relieved that the onus is on your opponent to call the right play, make the right key, and then that person makes that decision, and now the onus immediately shifts back to you. Suddenly you're sweating bullets. Really intense stuff. I mean, all head-to-head games have that element, of course. It's part and parcel, but Apple football does it just that little bit differently. And I want to talk about how Breakaway does it. That's just an incredible game. So, second half we're doing, right? And in the second half, what we're seeing is the Giants settling down. The 69 All-Stars had this kind of whole thing going on. They had this momentum. They really got themselves uncorked. They were in a groove. And to his credit, Keith subbed in a couple other quarterbacks, including Babe Parilli. Wood was his initial quarterback. Got at least 1 in the P column. Keith was rolling 66s. He got all the 66s right off the bat. 66 touchdown, an 11 touchdown, I think it was. I've got the whole game sheet. I have to add everything up. We're very curious about the numbers. Smiley, I don't remember his first name, clearly had a 100-yard game. There's no doubt about that. And some really big plays, but then some really sustained drives. So, second half, Saints have gone up 17-13. The Giants, Craig Morton, even though he's getting utterly battered, settles his team. I think it's when they were still down. Yeah, the Giants are down 17-13. Morton starts a drive, sacked for the 6th time, stays cool, keeps his team moving, sustains a 10-minute drive that includes a 7th sack he sustains, and the game's only penalties start to come in. And they're all on the 69 All-Stars. Penalty, first down. Defensive holding, first down. Roughing the passer after completion, first down. Just an amazing run of bad luck and chippiness and all that. Giants drive it down, Zonka punches it in, and they resume the lead 2017, and with an insurance touchdown, make it 27-17, the 27-30 finale. It was a breathtaking game. It was absolutely intense, and that's one of those games where the room fades away. You can't tell if people are watching you or not. So thank you, Keith, for that. That was just immense. What else did we learn? We learned a lot more about Breakaway. They ran an incredible tournament. I'm so glad. Full-on tournament. Breakaway football, for those who don't know, and we'll reference our interview with Arthur Franz here, the whole team were super helpful. What a great bunch of guys. Those teams that they've created superbly capture what the 78 Steelers do, what the 78 Cowboys do, what the 2006 Falcons do, what the Cardiacs, I think, are the 80 Browns, the Bolts are the 80 Chargers, the Gunslingers, I'm messing up the names, I shouldn't say that, but one of the Oilers teams has these little 4 bullet tokens, and as you, using that team, have a late game lead, you give a bullet away, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because from the hours and hours of Arthur's game film study, he saw that this Oilers team in particular would give up late game leads. The amount of research into Breakaway football is incredible, and their packaging of that intelligence into an incredibly playable, it's not Euro style, but it kind of is adjacent, with quotas of earned benefits and rewards. The more you run the 78 Steelers, you unlock benefits. When you've unlocked all those benefits, now Terry Bradshaw's passing is more accurate, that long passing. Think of those late touchdowns in Super Bowl 14, or in Super Bowl 9, or in Super Bowl 10. Those late game, that uncanny Bradshaw, as he mentioned, threw a touchdown in the fourth quarter of every Super Bowl. They've captured that perfectly with Breakaway football. It is shocking. They give you 15 offensive playing cards, and that's your clock. One play is 1 minute. It's such an amazing game. It is a very valuable addition to this community, and you watch their popularity in 5-10 years. And you've got a team creator. You know, if you want to create the 76 Bucks, which he already did, you know, you create the 76 Seahawks. I didn't delve too much into the creator module, but it is a nice add-on, and you can do whatever you want. So not built for full season replays, but someone's going to do it, of course. You know that. Running a tournament, some things I learned. Now, this is a very different animal than Canton 2013, all APA with the Hall of Famers. 2023, the Resurrection, with a smaller group now that the game company has a football tournament established since 2016. For this year, with so many platforms and very high profile and highly admired folks coming in to run their own mini tournaments in the room, which, by the way, we can still accommodate double the people we had. So mark your calendar now for this weekend, because we are going to do it again. There's no question about that. The Hall of Fame makes it super easy, and we've got a great working relationship, and they're expecting us, and they know us. Okay, well, this is one of the great things. Back to tournament play. We know that there's a Nashville APA baseball tournament coming. We know Dave Gardner's talked about a Northeast event of some sort. More Northeast, because there isn't really an APA tournament, I don't think, up around that way, and his wouldn't be solely APA. It'd be like this. It's more of an expo, I imagine. We didn't talk details. That's him to reveal. There are more Midwest tournaments coming that St. Patrick has done and will do, and lots of little side conversations going on and brewing, and thoughts percolating, so that's great. But in terms of running a tournament like this, you know, you as a director can agonize over having everything dialed in, but really it's great to have that plan, but it's also incumbent upon you to be able to take your foot off the gas and say, you know, read the room. People are going to their tournaments. I mean, Keith and Al and the Breakaway team all had their tournaments dialed in. Folks were ready to go. They were broadcast with ample notice before the tournament, and you know, had we had more APA folks there who wanted to compete in a full-on tournament, we had a plan for that. But as folks walked in the room, and more importantly, that Friday welcoming dinner or get-together, whatever you do, we gauged what folks wanted, and we determined pretty quickly that folks aren't really into or didn't require a full-bore tournament, like an APA baseball tournament, which has an established practices of divisions, the rotation of games, submitting your score sheets, determining the playoffs, and rounding out the competition. We didn't need to do that. I had some Saturday folks talked about their own mods. One of the most curious and gratifying things I saw was folks just sitting for hours talking, not even playing games, you know, picking and choosing. Ben Grimes just quietly came in and brought in about 30 classic football games, not stats based necessarily, but just a wealth, a complete library. I tell you, I told him he's got incredible luck finding games at thrift shops and garage sales. If you have an order, reach out to Ben Grimes. Chances are he's a diviner of football games. He finds them. So I think he's got a sideline business there. Everyone contributed in such a cool way. But running the tournament, taking your foot off the gas, not worrying about, is this competition going off as planned? I mean, Keith's competition, Al's competition, Breakaway's competitions, all dovetailed nicely. And everyone figures things out. You know, when you have a veteran crew, then again, we had some folks who hadn't played Apple. We had George Caldas, great addition to the group, came from Toronto. He won the first Toronto baseball tournament, the Resurrected Apple baseball tournament. He drove from Canada. He brought his Action PC League's documentation to show me. They do a weekly newsletter, they do an expanded newsletter, just the amount of sharing off to the side, in the lobby, all that good stuff. We know all that stuff, but the amount of work that people are doing in this hobby that they're eager to share, it's just mind-blowing, the creativity. It's a very creative, it is a role-playing community in that regard, in that franchise sense, in terms of leagues and coaches and commissioners, not necessarily role-playing as a player, but that will happen someday with all the fictional leagues, I'm sure. It's just a very simple step to create your own card and take yourself through a career just as you would in Madden or anything else. But those side conversations were fast and furious, hot and heavy, just really deep conversations folks were enjoying. You know, and I was enjoying just being immersed with folks one-on-one. So successful beyond my imagination. Figured with all these great folks in the room, you can't go wrong. You know, they're the real draw. So it worked out incredibly. Pete Simonelli, who is really the reason behind this, truthfully, I was never an Napa community person. I was always a solitaire player until I encountered Pete selling some of Robert Henry's collection. Pete sat with me for hours, filling me in on Napa history, and that's what got me to Lancaster in 2012, to cover it wall to wall, to bring tabletop sports to social media in my way. I mean, it was still fairly early days, and I was on the fence about being a content creator. Having been in content creation my whole life, it was an odd period when blogs were emerging, and there was a sense of will legacy media acknowledge their legitimacy. Well, we're well past that point. We've lived through that point. It's amazing. But for APA, diving in to content creation with a full purpose begat, hey, APA football needs its place in the sun. It needs to have primacy in its own tournament. Okay? And we did that in 2013. We set the bar for a lab environment there. Greg Barrett, Greg Wells, Ray Dunlop, Bob Tassinari, Jerry Zajac, National Card Football League, Denny Hodge calling in and explaining his score sheet. And it was really fitting that we were in rooms B and C for the past 2 years, and the venue rooms are in the back of the hall. Right next to us, of course, alphabetically, don't you know, is room A. And the door to room A was slightly ajar on Sunday. And so a couple folks came over and I pointed out, hey, this is where our original room was. And it was all dark and had some couches in there. It was really cool. It must have been setting up some other event. A lot of events go on at the Hall of Fame there. And it was just really cool to see that. It was kind of suggestive of that growth and how far we've come. So, again, thank you to Dave Gardner. Dave Gardner, James Cast. I set up a media table. They used it to perfection. You saw hours and hours of coverage. Brilliant. That's exactly the point. See, creating an event is really about, in no small part, creating content. That's a big part of creating a tournament at the Halls of Fame. This is the second year we've gone from Cooperstown to Canton, and we're going back to Cooperstown in 25 as well. We've got a date penciled in, more details to come there. But you create an event like this at this high-profile venue, that content that's created out of it, optimized properly. Hashtag Canton, hashtag PFOF, hashtag Hall of Fame, all that good stuff. You know, this information can get out into the bloodstream, the social media bloodstream. And this event is the epitome of the content we needed to get surrounding these games in this venue. Not only are we raising consciousness among the Pro Football Hall of Fame staff and personnel, and again, they do notice this. They are very well aware. And every time I talk to them when I'm cleaning up and wrapping up and leaving the building, invariably, and it starts actually when we set up. The first person we encounter, oh yeah, I played such and such game. We're rekindling memories. We're rekindling interest. Every event we hold, you hold, anyone holds, anytime you talk about it, every piece of content resonates. Okay? And it's thinking up the cool content that kind of slip into the consciousness in different ways that really helps trigger. You know, it's not just about personalities, it's about the information that gets out there. So, we definitely raise consciousness. And again, Dave's coverage, James's coverage, ST's coverage, just their presence. I mean, everyone wants to be around them, talk to them. And the bonus of Fred Biletnikoff, gosh. And I told James Cass this, so I apologize if I'm giving away anything, a small story on his Patreon, but Jay Villing, who was trying to organize and did a great job organizing Stratomatic folks, who unfortunately had to drop out, there'll be a bigger Strat contingent. I know there will be. Mike Kane and Jay Villing were there playing some Strat, playing it great. I just sat and watched. It's like, oh, the penny drops when you get to really watch it in person and hear the banter. You know, it's just a little different than the demo videos. I mean, Sportsman Z's videos are great. And how cool would it be if Sportsman Z were out here? Or Lewis Slower Board Gamer, or everyone else. Anyone and everyone. We can easily double. We could pack all three venues. You want to see 200 football players? I have an idea about making it a fuller-on expo. Maybe it's a retirement kind of business or semi-retirement business. I don't know. And the more the merrier. You know, the gaming community, the Eurogaming community has its own network of expos. We apparently need our own because, you know, we don't always get into those events. Although Keith Avalone at Dice Tower, Data Driven Football had 33 people at the World Board Gaming Championships. Those events are not just for community, they're for content creation. That content sells the community, sells the products. That's content marketing in a nutshell, folks. So, all that content out there in the bloodstream and all that connection, the 3 C's, community, connection, content. Maybe we'll start that little shtick. George Blazika with the Pro Football Research Association. I know I'm coming off of Fred Biletnikoff. I'm jumping around a lot, but it's just that highways zoned out, driving random stream of consciousness. George Blazika is the head of the Pro Football Research Association. I know you're a member. It's the greatest $35 you'll ever spend in your life. And we're working on building some further collaboration with them without a doubt. It's the perfect marriage, and that's why I interviewed Scott Bush of Sabre, the CEO of Sabre. You know, they have the gaming committee. We all know that. We've reached out to them and talked with them, and you know, they've carried our Canton coverage. And PFRA is thinking about doing something like that. You know, that's why we just give each other the opportunity and establish that connection, that collaboration. George gave an excellent presentation about all the things that the PFRA does, is doing, and will do. Their next book, here's the irony. Oh, here's the segue. 1976 Raiders is the next team history book that the PFRA is researching. Fast forward to Fred Biletnikoff is in the same building with us, completely unbeknownst. Wish I could take credit for that. Absolutely not. He happened to be there for some Hall of Fame events. As I told James Cast, I had this fantasy in my head that someone would be playing the 99 Rams and Marshall Faulk walks in, and it's a 4th and goal at the 1, and, you know, one of us says, hey, Mr. Faulk, would you like to roll the last play to see if you score the touchdown, or whoever it is? Jay Villan walks into the room and says, oh, Fred Biletnikoff's out there. Man, I was like, what? We get up. Arthur Franz and Arthur Foles grab their 76 Outlaws, or their Outlaws card, which is the 76 Raiders. They rush out there and get a photo with their card. I ran out with my original 76 Raiders card. I pulled out my Biletnikoff card and we got a photo with Fred. I was just like, wow, the super coolest guy. First Super Bowl I ever watched in its entirety. Super clutch. Super Bowl MVP. I mean, he's out there. They're having some sort of cake, you know, some celebration thing, and folks are sitting there and he's signing autographs and just talking to us. He's saying, here, have some cake. And we're saying, oh my God. So that was just icing on the cake, if you will, if you must. But then, because, and this is why the Hall of Fame staff, John, thank you so much. You're super cool. Everyone is super cool. Lisa Sponsler, who really facilitates this stuff and, you know, worked with us with the floor plan. She is a god. But John, who greeted us on Saturday morning, was finalizing the room setup, knew that Fred Biletnikoff had some extra time in the schedule, sent him down, asked, hey, would you come down and check out these guys playing these games? After we semi-accosted him, it's like, here's a card, here's us, please, photo. It just could not have been, I'm kind of shocked at myself. It's like, here. Pete Simonelli would have gotten him to sign the card. Many other of you would have gotten him to sign the card. I ended up, when he came into the room, I gave him his card. All his guys back in there again. Kenny. And, So, Fred Biletnikoff now has an original Apple Football 76 set. The one that I used in my Buccaneers replay, in which the Buccaneers scored about the same number of points on my tabletop as they did in real life. In any case, some other big takeaways. My mind's a little blank right now. It's a lot to process. We'll do a final tally of some of the tournament results. I did talk with Michael Kaplan, one of the co-creators of Breakaway Football. Group of guys who knew each other since high school. Again, could not be more helpful in explaining the game, being more patient, and being killer players, of course, at it when you design the game. But, man, the 78 Horsemen, going back to Breakaway, and their AI, oh God, Breakaway is, wow. They're going to get some sales out of this for sure, and justifiably so. It's one of the best games you'll ever play. If you love football and you want the personality of a team, Breakaway Football, cannot recommend that game enough. Your mind will be blown. Now, it's not a look up results stats. You're not keeping stats. It is a team-based game, which pay dirt, data-driven. Team-based games are great. Fast Drive Football is a team-based game, so, okay. But what they do with the 78 Horsemen, of course, the Cowboys came from outer space with the shotgun, but they used it not, of course, as they used it today. It's not the default or, you know, the semi-default offensive package. It was used in very specific circumstances. And so that shotgun card, those shotgun cards that they have for the 78 Horsemen become more powerful on third downs and not as powerful on other usages, okay? Then they have a flex defense card. What's a basic mechanism is the offense puts a card down in the slot on the playboard, the defense puts a card down on a slot in the playboard. The Cowboys and you put them down vertically. So you have a run pass and a pass play. You have a run play and a pass play on the offensive card, and you can switch it around. And you have a couple of defensive cards, depending on how you read the card. The Cowboys can turn their defensive card sideways in the flex defense, and when you reveal your offensive card, they can choose which defense on that card to play against you. It's just, every team is so well thought out. It's one of the greatest football games ever created. I cannot say enough about this game. And to have sat there, that's really the game I came to see most off. I'll be completely shameless about that. It's like, I got to see this. And I sat there for a good while. And then the AI they have the same kind of playboard, but they took all the team cards with all their capabilities and turned them into solitaire play charts that you, when you're playing your team, roll against, and you see the team's tendencies start to emerge. I don't fully understand it because I didn't play the full game, but you talk about, again, another game that's as well thought out as Al Wilson's Fast Drive Football, as Second Season and Cold Snap, and we saw Fury. They were playing Fury there. They were playing some Draft Duel, which is that game that's going to bridge. It looks like Euro games, card-based deck building. That, as I told James Cass, my personal mission is to make the connections, get the right people in the right rooms, and get the right content out there. I know I heard some people talking about the PFRA, and I heard that they enjoyed that talk, and they really, got a little more of a sense of what the PFRA does. And, we're going to break these games out at one of the PFRA annual conventions, which the next one will be in Minnesota. By the way, I missed the one in Pittsburgh because it fell on the Play.con weekend. I was double booked. I was going to bring the 62 or 63 Steelers there and play some games. So in Minnesota, I do plan to be at the PFRA annual event. And I'm going to bring some 76 Rams and Vikings and 69 Vikings and, how many Vikings? 98 Vikings. Who else? What other Vikings? The 2009 Vikings? You sense a pattern here. I'm sorry. So that's going to be a collaboration. However, formally or informally, that's going to bear a lot of fruit for the hobby. As I've said repeatedly, you've never seen more Facebook sites, blogs, you've never seen more books about NFL history. Everyone's trying to find those stories. All the stories, their life's work about the 78 Steelers, or the one who hits the hardest about the Steelers Cowboys, the rivalry of the 70s, and Joe Zagorski, all his great books about the NFL in the 70s, which is my decade, many of yours as well. There's never been as much hunger for vintage football as there is right now. This is a perfect storm. If we can help increase sales by X percentage just by being in the room together, that's what we want to do. Hey, wouldn't it be nice if we could sell 5%, 10%, 20% more games? Because folks who are talking about replaying, man, what would have happened if the Steelers drafted Marino? That's why we created that video. We can always share that and kind of say, hey, we did it. You can do it with these games. We're a little obnoxious, but that's okay. It doesn't matter if the end result is, that's interesting, fine. Or what if, Jurgensen played for Kilmer for the Redskins in 72? Oh, we can do that. Replay the Ice Bowl. What if, the Cowboys and Meredith did this? We got that. Replay the Immaculate Reception, replay whatever game in history, Music City Miracle, all the name games. That's a series you could do. Mark Miller was in the room with us. He helped me set up. Thank you, Mark. That was a huge help, putting together little tabletop card holders, like you see for the wedding receptions or whatever parties. Try to doll the place up a bit and really set up, give people the clear sense of where to go now that it's not just Apple. Mark Miller, of course, with Fast Drive Football, what he's and just other innovations he's done and the contributions he's made. And again, folks play a little bit, talk a little bit. Just let it be, folks. George Caldas and Matt McClellan. George had the 74 Cardinals. Matt had the 81 Bucks. 38-35 barn burner. A last play touchdown and a second to last play touchdown. It's just, I'm sorry I missed that finale, but yet another incredibly exciting and close game. The breakaway games, James Cass noted, there were a couple of 28-26 scores, I think. And Mike Kane, speaking of those 78 horsemen, Michael Kane, the Stratomatic football and other games guru, won the final there with those 78 Cowboys, which I find incredibly gratifying. He got there by beating Peyton Manning's 2016 Colts. He got to the final, I forgot, again against 2006 Falcons, I think it was, the Vic Falcons. But Staubach outgunning and outthinking Peyton Manning. I mean, as a child of 70s football, man, I was very happy the 78 Cowboys won the breakaway tournament. That was super cool. And that Michael Caine did it was super cool. John Thompson, however, there's a gentleman I'd never met before. He's never played Apple football face-to-face. And I was all set to have him paired with some people, so we could kind of work face-to-face. Turns out he was a semi-pro quarterback. I learned from Al Wilson. John Thompson not only won the Fast Drive football tournament as the 68 Jets, he was the runner-up in the breakaway tournament to Mike Caine. I mean, how cool is that? How cool is that? I didn't say 2 words to the man, and he's just in there. I'm in this final. I'm in that final. I think it was in the I think it was in the World Football League tournament as well. Just doing it. So happy for that. So yeah, we had a plan. I had a plan for an Apple football tournament, and we just kind of said, no, it's okay. We don't need it. That's cool. Sat with Dave Gardner a little bit, just talking through the specifics of, he's got the 79 game, and he's got his charts on letter size, which is super cool. I'm going to go do that. I had that done in a different way, but I like just, wow, it's going to be very rainy on the way back here. That's fine if it looks a little darker. And rounding out the day, we even actually left the room an hour early. And by the way, the lunches were incredible, as they always are at the Hall of Fame. Rounded out the day because I did not bring the 57 or 67 versions of Apple football, but I did bring a 79 original, a 94 original, the 99, the 2000 Green Box edition, and the 2008 Basic and Master books, and the 2013 Base and the 2020 Master. So gave a quick tutorial, because I'll just talk it up until I'm blue in the face, and until people stop me, I'm going to do that. So anyway, I should probably start to concentrate on the drive here more. But a last thought. We are definitely noticed, not only by Canton, but in Cooperstown. They sent the president of the Baseball Hall of Fame came down on Sunday of this year's tournament, because we did it over 2 days, because this year we modeled Cooperstown after the 2-day Canton model. And the Halls of Fame are noticing us, and George Bozeka and the PFRA are noticing us, and there's going to be more outside the community connection coming up, which is what I'm fervently about. We reinforce ourselves. We've got that down pat. It's that spreading it out there, okay? And folks have been doing this. I mean, Jim Shea and the coaches program for Apple, of course, has been happening. All the Apple regional tournaments, all the NJ Strat Club that are just going and going and going. Keith Avalone, again, at DiceCon, or the Wisconsin events with Travis Jansen. A lot of stuff. Frank Fumai is doing Apple at Sea again. I think I might want to do that. I keep joking that we need to get some Apple cards on SpaceX, or the International Space Station, but anyway, last thought for Canton 2025. What will it be? Well, sky's the limit in terms of planning, and that's the fun part. And you can plug and play a ton of types of events. This year, I went completely light on the presentation. The first year was all about, I want Greg Barrett to present, I want Ray Dunlap to present, I want John Cochran to present, I want Bob Cossinari to talk about how he bought and digitized the Apple Journal. I want Jerry Zajac and the rest of his National Card Football League guys to demo the Skype tournament. We've got all that captured for posterity. People are still using that information. 2023, we did Bobby Porter's presentation. You know, he did his presentation for us on his fields and his connection to Canton. So, Bobby, we're going to see you here one day. We know it. And with a bunch of custom fields. Actually, I gave away some of your fields. They're quite a hit. So, I'm going to have to ask if you would be so kind. Maybe we've got to work out reprinting some of the 2023 fields you printed for us. 2025 maybe extends to 3 days. Maybe we don't do Sunday. Maybe do a half-day Sunday. We can do a lot of things. Maybe we play a little bit in downtown Canton. Who knows? Maybe tie it to the Hall of Fame game. Move it up closer to induction week. It's a little crazier there. I'm trying to stay out of, the Hall of Famers. The induction week is busy for the Hall of Fame staff. I want to stay out of their hair. Maybe we do think about a second one-day event in the thick of the football season. Chance the weather. November. Some folks maybe want to do that. I don't like to try to. I wouldn't want to get. Well, we're close to Labor Day here, and we're at the end of the summer, so that already kind of abuts some people's vacation plans, perhaps. So don't know about maybe an October thing, November thing, a December thing, somewhere around the playoffs. Who knows? I mean, you get into the holiday season, it's tricky. So, but we'll gauge it. We can pull it off if they've got the space and people are committed. Not a problem. It's very easy to do this. I don't even mind people walking up. I have a few folks paid in cash. Again, if you're going to start a tournament, be flexible. Some folks are going to pay in cash. Some folks are going to miss an email here or there. Some folks are going to reach out to you on Facebook Messenger. Others will be on Gmail. Others will be on Instagram. You just got to kind of keep it all straight. It helps to be organized, and if you have a partner who's more organized, then fine. The co-founders of the Toronto Apple Baseball Tournament kind of work in concert. Some other folks might work in concert. There's a lot of ways to get these things done, and everyone's out there willing to help you. So we're already looking ahead to Cooperstown 25 and Canton 25. We may break Cooperstown to 1 day instead of 2 again, but we'll gauge it. If we do open platform, that changes the game completely. But since it is the Ed Zach Memorial, well, we'll see about that. I mean, Ed Zach doesn't belong just to the Apple community. He's an inspiration for us all. So, and then Canton 25. Now it's really wide open. Now it's wide open. Hey, if there's a week-long football tournament, I'm all for it, man. So stay tuned. Sky's the limit. Think about how you might create a tournament, and if you have any questions, reach out. Apple Football Club Original at gmail.com. Thank you, everyone, for making this event happen, and I hope I've inspired some of you. Reach out with any questions or concerns you have about coming to one of these tournaments. We can always work something out. Hope to see you here in Canton or there in Cooperstown or anywhere else you might wish to roll some dice.